Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Where we continue to follow the capture and killing of Osama bin Laden now.
Those are just some of the scenes overnight as thousands of Americans gathered in celebration of Osama bin Laden's death.
Former Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill says he has thought about the mission every day since that May Day in 2011.
For multiple conversations you had with Rob O'Neill over the past year and a half, how'd you get
access? And you described that his head kind of exploded when you hit him.
I actually hit him 3 times because I shot him twice when he was standing and once on the ground.
That is the fucking American badass right there.
Go, go, go. We are not going for fame and we are not going for bravado. We are going for the single mom who dropped her kids off at elementary school on a Tuesday morning, and then 45 minutes later she jumped to her death out of a skyscraper.
If you need help, hang up and then dial your operator.
I'm Rob O'Neill, and this is the Operator Podcast. Welcome back to the Operator Podcast. I'm your host, Robert J. O'Neill. I believe this is episode 126. Doesn't really matter. It's a gorgeous day. It is Wednesday. It is March 12th. A lot going on depending on where you look, and a lot not going on depending on where you don't want to look. Stuff like that all depends on how busy you want to be or how busy you want to pretend to be. I've been trying to do a little more silence and stuff like that. Wake up in the morning, get out of bed. Like I'm not a big alarm guy. I have a tendency to wake up early and get out of bed. I think the key though, even if you do set an alarm, is to just get up, get out. Don't start off by lying in bed and remaining lazy. Not that I don't do that. Not that I haven't done that even recently. I'm just saying it's a much better day if you can start it off, get up. You don't need to necessarily, jump right in the icy river, but I highly would not recommend, or would highly not recommend, however you want to put it, getting right on social media, because you do not also want to start your day off with negativity. Get up, do your thing. I heard on the Hollow app, that prayer app, something about silence, and if you're not big into prayer, that's fine. If you are into prayer, that's great. If you're into meditation, that's also good. But I took note last week of sitting in silence. Getting up and getting out of bed, walking around, sitting in silence, standing in silence, going somewhere in silence, and just listening to your own thoughts, getting in your own head or praying, whichever you're doing. It's a good way to start the day as opposed to having all the nonsense and the noise instantly start, because we're very, very distracted all the time. The even calling it the 24-hour news cycle isn't fair to yourself, because it's so fast. It's always coming in anything you want to find. You don't even know what's really real anymore. You don't even know if it's some of these AI bots yelling at each other and charging each other up so you can hear the arguments going on, so it spins you up, because like we always say, the almighty dollar, there's money in everything, and getting you spun up might have you buy stuff, it might have you not buy stuff, so it helps a competitor, nonsense like that, and that's out there. But it's a great way to start the day. Obviously, you want to do something active. If the sun's out like it is, get out in the sun. Vitamin D is great for you, but a good workout, something cool like that, the cold plunge, all that stuff, good way to start the positive energy before you get in the fights over who's the smartest person in the political landscape and whatnot. What I did want to put out too, I've been running some ads as far as my books, The Operator and The Way Forward, and it's been going well. I do want to say this. I appreciate you if you've ordered a book before, or if you're thinking about ordering a book. Being serious, if you're spending the money that you earn on my memoir or one of my books, I really appreciate that. I'm going to get it to you. It takes a minute. I do travel quite a bit. I'm on the road this week as well. I get to go out to airports. I get to go talk to people. I like to give speeches. I get in front of people. I get to see America. I've been doing that since about 2012, getting in front of people, which is cool because I get to talk to people face to face, which is nice to see what people are thinking, what the definition, not the definition, but what normalcy might be. Because a lot of times I've been accused. I've talked about people being nuts. There's no way people can think this way. And I've said this before, if you do get outside and talk to people, you'll notice the same thing, that people are not as nuts as the people who want you to be nuts say you are. So doing a lot of that, going out traveling. The point that I was getting at is that I travel so much in order to get people who pay for my books, the signed books, which I do with inscriptions to, which are pretty fun. They're a lot of fun, actually, within reason, of course. If it's an odd one or way too long, I'll modify it. But it's fun to get with people to hear what they say and to sign what they want. But I need people to realize that I need to be there physically to sign the book. So I appreciate your patience. We got we got a lot of orders. I've been playing catch up for a while. So thanks for your patience. If you order a signed book, it takes a minute for me to get to the book, physically sign it, and get it to you. So thanks for your patience on that. And the realization that I need to be. I don't use an Autopen is what I'm getting at. And some people do, believe it or not. A lot of people that sign stuff use Autopen, which you will get it fast. It's just not them signing it. If you don't mind AI signing your book, here's your book. That's fine. I personally, I pull out different Sharpies for different occasions. Marines, you will get red. If it's a Marine or you're getting a book for a U.S. Marine, I'm signing your book in red, unless you specifically want something else, which I don't know why you would, but you get red. I got blues, some greens and whatnot, stuff like that. But it is not an Autopen. I do sign it myself. Navy guys usually get blue unless you request different. Navy guys will get a shipmate. If you were requested to be called shipmate, I will still call you shipmate. But I need to be there to sign the books. Making progress. Again, thanks for your patience with that. On the Autopen thing too, which is, I don't like it, or a lot of AI. The former president, President 46, Joseph R. Biden Jr., the R actually stands for Robinette. Joseph Robinette Biden. My middle name is James, J. But if you talk to Ray Cashcare, former Navy SEAL, he had his wife convinced it was Robert Jambalaya O'Neill, which I should have stuck with that story. It's kind of funny. But his was Robinette. But the thing is, it's recently come up that former President Biden was using auto sign for executive orders, which is a no-no. That would be deemed unconstitutional. Now, it's not because the Constitution specifically says you can't use Autopen. They didn't know what that was. There wasn't some robot with one of those feather pens, dip it in the ink so it could sign for you. It's just assumed the president would sign the executive orders. They're finding right now that a lot of executive orders were signed with an Autopen instead of Biden doing it, which is unconstitutional. Why? Because the president's not doing it, which means the president didn't necessarily read it, which means someone else wrote it, which means a crazy staffer / unelected official is making the laws. And I know that they're up in arms about Elon Musk not being elected. Not a peep so far from the left or the media about people potentially drawing up executive orders and having a machine sign it. And the president not knowing what the hell's in it. But they're telling you it didn't happen, but they also for a long, long time told you that he was not completely out of his mind with cream of mushroom soup in between his ears, which we all saw that he was, but they lied the entire time up to the end. Coincidentally enough, the only thing he actually signed is when he dropped out of the race because he was standing aside for the better of America. All that means is they got busted, and they're getting busted for a lot of things like that too. So do you have an issue with that? With some 20-something staffer in the White House writing stuff up, generally about probably hardcore extreme abortion stuff, because, you know, they love that, or some transgender stuff, because, you know, they love that, and just pushing stuff down your throat with an Autopen so that you as the American people can suck it. I have a problem with that. I hope you do too. Let me know what you think in the thoughts at the Operator Podcast on Instagram. I haven't been too crazy on at McHuya lately. I do have fun there sometimes, but it's getting old. The whole shadow ban thing is old. I would love for Meta to stop that, but they won't. So it just sucks. So I haven't been on there. I will get back on there. It is fun. I do enjoy talking to you, but it's lately I've had other important stuff I think going on. But that's that. Autocorrect is there. Autosign is there. I am shipping the books out. I shipped some today. I shipped a bunch yesterday and all weekend. I'll be back again this week. Shipping books out is fun. But the autosign thing is crazy, considering the nonsense that did happen in the last White House. It's almost the weird the difference between what happened in the White House, what the media lied to you and what the left lied to you about what's happening in the White House, what's actually happening in the White House now, and how the media is lying to you again about what's happening in the White House now, because they don't have your best interest in mind. They are concerned about what is happening with the wool being pulled back, for you being able to see what's actually happening. And believe me, I'm not saying this administration now is nothing but roses either, because you remember they were saying, hey, as soon as we get there, day one, the Kennedy files coming out. No, they didn't. But the day we get there, man, the day I get in office, the Epstein no, they didn't. No, because again, I hope I'm not trying to knee jerk, because right now, again, in the 24-hour news cycle, how I want my immediate. I need to know what happened right now. Don't get into that, because some things do take time. But I am sick of them saying, well, national security with the Epstein pedophile list. Why? Again, I don't think it should be. I think the American people should know it. But there's a lot of different things I also think should be happening too, as far as, even with Trump mentioning that a lot of members of Congress need IQ tests, I think they should. I think both sides should. I would love to see the results. I also think there should not just be voter ID, but there should be a test you need to take in order to be able to vote, because I was just watching some of the spring break videos from Waters' producer, Johnny, who, by the way, is just awesome. And just walking around spring break on the beach, asking all these know-it-all college people who obviously been sipping the booze, whatever, have fun at spring break. My kids don't go to spring break, and by that I think all my kids are on spring break. But just when they're yelling and screaming about who's doing what and what's wrong, and then having Johnny ask them, okay, where's Ukraine? And I think the best answer I heard from a college kid was, it's in the world. Which, you know what? You're right. Ding, ding, ding. It's in the world. Funny stuff. But yeah, so all that going on this week, a little bit of travel, auto signing, books are coming out. That's fun. And we'll get at some other stuff too. Before we get into it, I need to bring up my favorite sponsor. I got to talk about My Patriot Supply. Very, very important to stay front sight focused with the preparation. And I bring up My Patriot Supply every single week because I'm a big into preparation for life. And you've seen it before when disaster strikes. Grocery store shelves might go empty overnight. The worst time to prepare, however, is during the aftermath. By then, it's already too late. Smart Americans trust My Patriot Supply. And by smart Americans, I mean people who listen to this podcast. My Patriot Supply to help them prepare before a crisis comes. That's when you need to prepare. Right now, they're making it easier than ever. Order their 4-week emergency food supply today and get a load of this, get 4 72-hour food kits completely free. That's almost 2 weeks of bonus meals at no cost. Each of these kits offers over 2,000 calories per day of delicious, easy-to-prepare meals that last up to 25 years. I've mentioned before, I have them for all my family members all over the country. I have them myself. They're here in storage the last 25 years, and that's real peace of mind. There's no last-minute panic, no empty shelves, just knowing you're covered. Stock up today before this deal disappears. Listen to me. Because when an emergency hits, food will be the first thing to go. Go to my favorite website, preparedwithrob.com. Go to preparedwithrob.com, claim your kit, plus an extra 12 days of food for free. Go check out preparedwithrob.com. Get My Patriot Supply. Have that peace of mind in your house. Yeah, but Autopen, it's just another one of those things, too, where how much wool are they trying to pull over your eyes and whatnot and stuff like that, too. But I kind of hope, not trying to get partisan too, that you're just paying attention to what a lot of the people are doing. A lot of the people are doing to you, because the government efficiency thing right now is just trying to save you money, just trying to save the country, because the country's being run amok by a bunch of people who don't really know what they're doing. You see them follow the same trends all the time. The latest one now is swearing. Which that pisses me off too, because I think a good F-bomb correctly placed can make a point, can make a funny joke, especially when you don't see it coming. But some of these, you get a lot of these now. Have you seen the politicians up there saying, I don't normally swear, but I'm going to say it now. Fuck Trump. It's like, oh wow, that was cutting edge. Asshole. No, throw it in there when you don't think it'll be. If you like Tony Robbins, man, have you ever heard him speak? He'll throw F-bombs out there. He's one of the greats, man. The guy's like a magician. He gets in people's heads and he says such great stuff. So poignant, obviously great voice, does so much cool stuff. He'll throw the F-bombs in there and they're well placed. But now you got people out there just acting like it's a bad take. And Democrats now are they're reaching for anything that'll make them look, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, but they're just coming, they're all doing the same stuff. They're all, some of them obviously they do, it doesn't matter, but I mean, remember Weird? Remember he's just weird. J.D. Vance is just weird. Okay. It's like you're trying to latch onto something to make yourself cool. The Democrats are in dire need of leadership. I talked about this last week too. They need leadership, like a good, like a leader to step up. It's been the same names forever. It was even back since it was even when it was Hillary's turn in 2008 and Barack Obama came out of nowhere. That's what the Democrats need, is someone to come out of nowhere and lead them. They got, obviously they're pruning up Gavin Newsom. They got his new podcast. But it's called This Is Gavin Newsom. It's not called This Is California. And it's just presenting. Why aren't you governing? Where's the leadership? It's frustrating to watch. But I mean, even some Hollywood liberals. I saw a great interview with Justine Bateman, who, by the way, is America's sister. Man, if you're my age, growing up with Family Ties, that's Mallory Keaton, baby. And she's just coming out there saying, like, they've gone nuts. They being the far left, because again, like I was saying earlier in this pod, that like most people just want common sense. I hope that's where I'm at. I mean, I was a Republican for a long time. I had to leave the Republican Party to become independent, and I think a lot of people are sort of the same way. Lean towards Trump this time just because of the common sense thing, because it is common. I mean, secure borders. That's nothing wrong with that. Stop fentanyl, nothing wrong with that. Lower crime, nothing wrong with that. End wars, nothing wrong with that. That seems like common sense. Trump came in, had to go under the banner of Republican, but you know, I think the common sense thing, I hope it's coming back. It looks like it is, but yeah, the weird thing, and it's almost like what are the pushes? What are the pushes for the left? Let's be honest. What are they pushing for right now, other than anti-Trump? They still can't figure out why they hate Trump. But what are their pushes? Abortion. Transgender, both under the guises of healthcare. That's it, man. Have a policy. What are you going to do about the budget? You can't be spending money like this. The crap that you hear the media put out is that, well, you know, Congress makes laws and Congress cuts spending. You can't. Congress does not cut spending. I don't know if you noticed that. We've had last year, a 2% increase in population, but a 53% increase in spending. That's not cutting anything. And then they start arguing about, well, they're going to throw grandma off the cliff. They're cutting Medicaid. None of this is happening, but they're using scare tactics like that. It's the country needs to be run like a business, and you might not like that. The country needs to be run like a family, at least a budget. You might not like that, but it needs to. Because inflation doesn't come from the private sector. Inflation comes from overprinting money, and you're making the dollar worth less, which is what they're doing. Print. And it's all based on politics. It's all based on personal power. I don't want to get into that again. And, you know, when they start bashing Trump with his first administration, well, COVID and all this stuff too. I mean, the lockdowns, how much do the lockdowns have to do with how can we get Trump out of office? How much did the lockdowns have to do with how can we ensure mail-in balloting? We'll just pump money, pay him to stay at home. That's how bad they wanted Trump out of office. But at some point, the spending needs to stop, or we're going to go into a recession. The economy is going to collapse, and you're not going to like that. If you don't like arguing about a 500-year-old woman not getting her Social Security check, you're definitely not going to like it when we're eating pets. And I'm not kidding here. You don't want to eat pets. They're not delicious. We know what delicious is. That's not it. And the money we throw around, too. I mean, look at this dude. I forgot his name. I'm going off on a tangent because I don't care about his name. That Hamas dude that's got a green card that now the left is up in arms that they shouldn't be deporting this guy. Why not? He's got a green card. He's not a citizen. He can't even vote. And voting's a privilege. It's not even a privilege. Sorry. Voting is a, I guess a privilege would be it, too, but it's a duty. And you can't do that with a green card. Why can you run around Colombia? And that you're not protesting. You're being a terrorist, this dude. The Colombia crap, too. Why? Here's one for you, since we're just off the cuff talking about spending. Why are and I can't emphasize enough, your tax dollars. You go to work, right? and you see either you're running your business and you're putting stuff aside so you can pay your taxes, or you're having taxes withheld, you're still giving money that you weren't to the government. Why are we giving $400 million a year in grants to Columbia University? Why are we doing that? It's a private university. A lot of endowments. Every student there is paying, I think it's about $80,000 a year to go to Columbia. And what are they just pumping out socialists, pumping out communists, anti-Americans? Why are you paying your money for that? And I have Democrats that listen to this too. My Democrat audience. Are you happy with sending the money that you earn at your job to Columbia? First of all, if you're a blue-collar Democrat, why are you on the side of some dude that graduates from Columbia? You think he gives a shit about you? Nope. Why do you care about him? I don't know. Why are you paying for him? Why are there reports now that ever since Trump got elected, and this is from I've read studies from psychologists, psychiatrists saying a lot of permanent residents in D.C., which you mean the swamp, they're losing sleep or waking up with dread, or Russia's infiltrated. That's what they're telling me because Trump's in. No, it's because the wool's being pulled over your eye, your eyes. Why do you think they're sweating this? And why are you paying for this? And why do you care what they think? It's almost like they're bringing the man down. But that's just the money that's being thrown around everywhere. Government efficiency. It's fascinating. I'm going off on a tangent here for points that I'm not even sure what I'm trying to make. I was just talking about the lunacy and the loss of normalcy. I read a few studies that there's a treehouse based on The Simpsons in California that the builders that built something like 24 years ago, I'm going to pull the story up, that they're being forced to take this place down. So it's a city forcing Simpsons producer to tear down iconic treehouse after years of battle. So they got this treehouse, and they're dismantling. It's a 24-year-old treehouse inspired by The Simpsons. The guy's name is Rick Polizzi, okay? Rick Polizzi, a former producer on the animated series. He built a structure in 2000 for his daughters, but it grew into a neighborhood attraction. Fine, you got a treehouse in this place where people used to come over. Kids that are now adults still go there. Used to go there for Halloween. A place to get together. It was free, no charge. It's just cool. It's iconic, a landmark. What else is it doing? Getting people together, getting them outside. You're not staring at your phone maybe to take a picture with it. But I guess someone complained, a Karen complained. It was against regs, against regulations, red tape, Democrat shit, politician shit. It's a treehouse. It's been there for 24 years. The guy's tearing it down now. Rick Polizzi is tearing it down now because the city was going to force him to pay the legal bills for a treehouse, man. And again, this is that shit with your neighbors telling on you. That's, I hope, neither right nor left, too. That's just stupidity. Again, it's just proof, though, too, that when it comes down to it, for a police state, your neighbors are dying to tell on you. Stop doing that. Don't be that neighbor, man. Don't. Why would you do that? It's like there was one in New York with a snow cone stand. They had to shut down a snow cone stand because the kid didn't have a permit. Really? Is that overreach? I'm thinking it is, but... yeah, that's just the death of fun. I think fun needs to come back, and that, I mean, when you've got red tape over a snow cone stand, I don't think that you're pro small government. But again, this is just mandatory misery. This is because we've come so far, we've made so much money on such bullshit tactics that something that started out as decent and worthwhile because there's so much funding coming in and because it comes a bureaucracy like any foundation, like any charity, like any cause, and they're not just going to let it go. So that's what happens. You know, you start one day because you want cats to get married or whatever, and all of a sudden you're tearing down some kid's snow cone stand in a treehouse, and it's madness. I don't understand the death of sanity. But that's where a lot of this political stuff... Is it really that bad? I don't know. I'm going to find out. I'm going to travel this week and I'll report back. I don't know if it's that bad, but I think I'm going to ask some people. I got a couple speeches and I will tell you what happened. But, with the California thing and then the weird thing and then that's calling... It's like, dude, is it really that weird? Is it really that bad? Let's all have a snow cone. So here's what I did want to address, though, because there was a big announcement last week. I had an emergency podcast on Friday, and I was going to do a follow-up on Monday because there was a trailer out, and I was asked a few questions about a docuseries coming out on Netflix which was going to be released on Monday the 10th. It was postponed. Now, I was not part of that decision-making process, and it is getting postponed. I'm assuming I know when. I don't know when because I'm not a part of it. And again, they did keep it very compartmentalized as far as who's being interviewed, what's being said, and what's being disclosed. But it was moved. It was supposed to be Monday. It's not anymore, obviously, and you couldn't download it. If you have an issue with Netflix, take it up with them, please. The final product is great, and I hope you will see it eventually because I really liked it. I have my own conspiracy theories. That was March 10th. And I think maybe that having it released on Osama bin Laden's birthday was probably a bad idea. March 10th is his birthday. Not that I care when his birthday was or where he was living, but that's the case too. Also, in the middle of Ramadan, I don't know who made the call, but it didn't get released, so that was that. We were gonna. That is why I didn't do a big a Monday podcast. Sorry about that too. I wish I could. As much as I love getting together as much as possible and shooting the BS with you, I was unable to just because they did pull the plug for now. Not pull the plug. They postponed it, which is fine. It's still worth it. Still check it out. Still, I'm still excited to watch it with you. That'll be fun. But we weren't able to do that. So that was the whole thing there. Birthday, Ramadan, blah, blah, blah. So it'll be fun though. It'll be out there eventually. And you know what I didn't mention too was I mentioned my signed books. RobertJO'Neill.com is the overall hub for my stuff that I'm re-engaging. RJO Apparel is where you get the books, but keep it within reason, and I will sign pretty much whatever you want to. It's not a platelet either. You ever get a book with? I have signed platelets before I knew what they were. A platelet's like a little sticker you sign, and then they stick it in the book, and then they say it's a signed book. It's not a signed book. It's a signed platelet that someone put in your book for you. That's not how I roll. But that is why you take your. That's why it takes a minute for me to get my books to you of the operator on the way forward. But I got to get Dakota in a joint signing too. Those are fun. It's always fun to sign the way forward with him as well. Own the dash, stuff like that. But yeah, again, with the books, I'm not going to harp on that on RJO Apparel. But thanks for your patience there. Oh, what else is going on with that too? Since we're on the topic of government efficiency too, I was tracking on. Remember Stacey Abrams? She runs for governor in Georgia, I think, every year. Even though you can't run every year, she runs every year. She's always into something. She got nailed for taking a lot of fund money. Right when the Biden administration was leaving, they were really good at getting rid of a lot of the money. They were dumping money everywhere too because the mandatory misery. Make sure you spend every single penny and more that the hardworking taxpayer makes so that we can just spend their more money because they don't need their money and we need to spend it. Stuff like it's almost like watching this stuff go is I was talking to my father Tom this Tom O'Neill, well, my father Tom, like I needed to tell you his first name. I know his first name, but I was discussing with him the difference between, because when I'm not even convinced a lot of these elected officials had that in their overall plan for what they're going to do in life. Most of them are attorneys. Some of them aren't. Most of them are. But it's almost like they're hand selected to get pushed somewhere by the deep state to get into a spot because, the whole, we're worried about too many people going to Guam because the island might tip over, which they can't because it's not a floating, plate in the ocean. It's actually it's weird. It's a mountain that doesn't capsize, but there are people in there that think that. But they get run, they get elected, and then they do exactly what they're told. That's why you get the videos of 50 different congressmen saying the same damn thing over and over. And my dad and I were discussing, because, I run some businesses. I've worked for the government. I've used guns, and we were discussing the difference between the speed of government, the speed of business, and the speed of a bullet. And if you've ever run a payroll, ever run a business, you know the difference. Government doesn't care because they don't create. And the money's coming in from you because you either run a business or you work for someone who does run a business, and they make damn sure your taxes are up to and accounted for by April 15th of every year. Some people that run their own businesses, you pay taxes a lot more. I personally cut checks to the government every so often, and that's why I get so animated about where the money's going. Even though, as much as I love to cut huge checks to our government so we can send it over so people in Monrovia, Liberia are aware of their voting rights, billions of dollars for that. Even the last time I was in Liberia, I want to say 2003, civil war and cannibalism were going on. There wasn't a lot of discussion about, do you know your voting rights? But yeah, so the money that I cut, that I would rather find a poor part of Detroit. Seriously, I would rather find a poor part in Detroit, Michigan, find like a single family and cut a check for their house, than just send it to Liberia so people who eat each other can also understand their voting rights. But the thing with spending the money with the Abrams thing, Stacey Abrams, I'm jumping all over once again, which is fine because notes are good, but notes are way too much preparation or way too much planning. Preparation is either knowing what you're talking about or acting like you know what you're talking about, which is good. And I'm not the only one that knows how to do that. If you talk to a woman, she knows how to do it. I'm kidding. I'm serious. But the Stacey Abrams thing, the point I was making is if you're prepared, be in a position where if you don't like the question you were asked, just answer the question you wish they would have asked you and it sounds fine. You see it on TV all the time. I've done it a lot myself. It makes you sound cool because when it's all said and done, people rarely remember what you said, but they do remember how you made them feel. And I have a funny feeling about this because Stacey Abrams, I brought up, she was one of her little shell companies or NGOs or whatever it was busted getting $8 billion from, I think, the Biden administration. Now, $8 billion is a lot of money because we throw that number out there a lot. Million is nothing anymore. Billion's nothing. Trillion, that's where we're at. But $8 billion to Stacey Abrams, which I'm sure I'm sure all the ink's drying, all the T's are dotted, no corruption. But it was for efficient appliances. Efficient appliances. I'm going to say that again. $8 billion for efficient appliances for low-income people, I guess. And she said it worked for 75% of the people in a tiny town in South Georgia. Now, I would like you to absorb and digest all of that. Okay? Efficient appliances, $8 billion, 75% of a tiny town in South Georgia. It worked for some of them, or $8 billion. I don't even know what any of that means. If you give me $8 billion, the last thing you'll need to worry about me having is an efficient microwave. If you give me $8 billion, the last thing you'll have to worry about is ever fucking seeing me again. But 75% of a tiny town, and are they going to investigate this? Are we going to hear about this ever again, or are we going to forget? Is there going to be another submarine that just implodes going to the Titanic, so we all just forget about the $8 billion that someone stole for you for their microwave? Government at work, baby. This is what you're fighting and dying for. So, there is a video I've seen recently. It's picking up a little traction. It's pretty cool too. It's all true. It's all true. I'm sure someone will say it's not, but it's true. My friend Kid Rock was on a podcast with Bill Maher, and they're doing a pretty cool new thing too. I'm not sure when it's happening. I hope it's soon. But what Kid Rock is doing is trying to do a campaign of getting people together to discuss stuff that I guess can bring us together, because we're never going to agree on everything, and we never should agree on everything. If you're agreeing with everything all the time, then you're into party politics and you live in DC, and you shouldn't be doing that, because that's not the way that you solve problems, by agreeing upon everything. There needs to be some discussion, there needs to be debate, and a lot of people do not like that. But what Kid Rock is doing is trying to bring people together. Obviously, he's been to UFC fights with President Trump. He's golfed with President Trump, been to the White House a bunch of times, which is cool. And he was just on with Bill Maher, which is to say there's a dialogue there. Because I don't know if you know this, Bill Maher doesn't necessarily care for President Trump. He's definitely not pro-Trump. I don't think Donald Trump cares for Bill Maher, but I don't think I don't think he's to the point where he holds grudges like that either. What I think Kid Rock is setting up is a dinner at the White House with the president, with himself, and with Bill Maher, which is a good idea. And the premise behind it is to start it off with a subject about which they all agree, which is a good idea. Sit down, talk about something, and then discuss other stuff too. And it's smart. It's a good way again to open dialogue. And because you got to figure, these are, as much as we like to call each other names, a lot of people are not stupid. Bill Maher is a genius. Bill Maher is a great comedian. I think he's hilarious. I love his show, and if you don't, that's on you, I guess. Don't hate me for loving his show. I love New Rules, always have. I really liked his documentary Religious. It's not trying to prove something. It's simply going somewhere to ask someone questions about, in this case, man-made religion. Not touching that because we talked about prayer and we talked about a little bit about meditating, silence, stuff like that in the earlier part of the show. But again, just a conversation, asking questions. Nothing wrong with asking questions, and nothing wrong with asking and answering questions, which is where they were. He went in. I don't know why I'm getting into the documentary Religious right here, but I believe he went into a mosque somewhere near where the Palestinians roll in the thing, and that's a dangerous thing to do. Even if you do that as a white guy, as you do that as a non-believer or whatever you want to call them, you're taking your life in your own hands. No disrespect, especially during the holy month of Ramadan, but we all know how some people roll at some points during some parts of the year. But anyway, they're looking to have that dinner. I hope it's great. Would love to be there. But on the podcast with Bill Maher, now the video going around is Kid Rock talking to Bill Maher about knowing the guy who killed bin Laden. And then they were discussing how he asked if he knew who the guy that killed bin Laden. And Kid Rock said, yeah, I know him really well. And obviously, I mean, he was in my wedding, so I do know him really well. You know, I'm not getting into our relationship too. We do have, I know Kid Rock very well. But then he was discussing a sledgehammer that I gave him, which is true. The sledgehammer that I carried on the raid to kill Osama bin Laden, I actually traded it to Kid Rock. And I autographed it for him. And if you ever get a chance to see it, I can see if I can find a picture of it. You can tell how old it is because it's my old signature. I have my RJO signature that you see on like RJO apparel. It's actually my trademark logo. It's an RO, but my Robert James O'Neill autograph is on this sledgehammer with a Never Quit. And I initially traded it to Kid Rock for the original lyrics to the song Born Free. And what Kid Rock does is he'll take, in this case, it's small yellow legal pads, and he'll take the first few pages of lyrics that he had written, and then he framed them, and we traded that. He gave me that, and then I gave him the sledgehammer. And he said, well, we're going to the way he put it on the thing was, I guess we're having a big dick contest. We're at his house in Detroit. He took me out to the garage where he collects cars, and he said, pick a car. So I did. I picked a car. He wasn't happy with the car that I picked, not because I picked the best car. I actually picked the worst car. It was, I want to say, a 1972 Cadillac limousine, which I think is sick. I think I got to look up which show redid it, but it's awesome. We traded for that. It's hilarious, but he brought that up on the show, and I gotta track down the car and the sledgehammer and get either a podcast done with that. But it's all true. I do have the Born Free lyrics. They're actually in this room. I'm still constructing and decorating my new studio, but it's here, I assure you, and you will see them. It's pretty funny. So sledgehammer I do not have. I gave it to Kid Rock, Bob Ritchie. I gave it to Bob. Bob gave me the lyrics in a limo. Lyrics in a limo. That almost sounds like a title of an album if I had any artistic or musical talent. Even though I have two kick-ass guitars behind me, I'm not going to tell you how many chords I do or do not know how to play. But yeah, funny story going around. Kid Rock, limo, sledgehammer. I wanted to close with this because it cracked me up. What I like to do in my spare time is study and read and look up different things. And again, not stuff about which everything that I can get my hands on. I was mentioning earlier about the auto sign and how it's unconstitutional, but how the word unconstitutional is thrown around, and they'll say, well, that's not what the forefathers intended. Obviously, the forefathers never intended an auto signature, because if you would have told them back in the day a machine will sign for you, they would have probably had you burned at the stake like a witch, because that's how they used to think. Not necessarily our founding fathers, but back in the day, I don't know if you know this, Salem, Massachusetts, you've seen pictures, they used to burn people for being witches. But I'm bringing it up too because I think that March 12th, and again, no notes, is the anniversary of when Robert McNamara introduced the M16 to the Army, because in Vietnam we were using the M14, but shooting an M14, which is 7.62, full auto with a 20-round magazine was a little uneasy, unstable, so they switched it to semi, and all that was an M1 Garand that they used in World War II with a longer magazine. So they switched to the M16, whatnot. Doesn't matter. That's an entirely different episode. AR-10, AR-15. Obviously, the AR stands for assault rifle, which it does not. I'm kidding. I'm joking before the gun guys jump all over me. But just because speaking of the constitutionality of how, well, the forefathers never intended for you to have an AR-15 or an AR-10. They didn't. That's true. They didn't because they didn't know it was coming. They didn't know the future. They couldn't see the future. They didn't know there would be auto-correct and auto-signing and automatic weapons. They didn't know that. So when you hear Democrats say, well, they never intended for you to have, weapons of war. It was the Second Amendment was written when there was muskets. That's what the forefathers, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting to a point because I'm going to close with this, and it's hilarious. It's a classic. I didn't write it, but I'm going to read it because I read it today and I laughed, and we are going to listen to it together. Because when they say the way the forefathers intended, this cracked me up because we're so soft right now. Like with police brutality or with, you tased them too much. Got to have body cams. That's, you can't have an AR-15 because that's not what the forefathers intended. Thinking, if you take a second and realize that if we did stuff now exactly the way the forefathers intended, it would be a hell of a lot more violent than you realize. Because just because it's an AR-15, which by the way is a very clean kill. Now, I hope you never know that. I've never killed anyone with an AR-15. I've killed people with an M4, with an HK-416, not getting into that shit. 5.56, blah, blah, blah. Clean. The stuff they were using back in the day was not clean. Back when they wrote the Constitution, back when the Second Amendment was written. But someone wrote like an after-action report. Because you know how they'll say, like, even Joe Biden's like, you don't need that for home defense. You just need a shotgun with 2 good blasts, blah, blah, all that crap too. And I get crap for saying shotgun blast or whatever. But when someone wrote something about home defense with the weapons that the forefathers would have used, except now, describing the attitude and what would actually happen to home invaders as far as how violent it really would be. It just killed me. So I'm going to read this. I don't know if it's a tweet. It's just a meme. I don't know who wrote it. But put yourself in the state of mind of someone having their house burglarized, and then all of a sudden they're using a musket for home defense and stuff from back in the day. So I'm going to read this for you, and you give me your thoughts later, please. So it goes as follows. Own a musket for home defense, since that's what the founding fathers intended. 4 ruffians break into my house. What the devil? As I grab my powdered wig and Kentucky rifle. Blow a golf ball-sized hole through the first man. He's dead on the spot. Draw my pistol on the second man. Miss him entirely because it's smooth bore and nails the neighbor's dog. I have to resort to the cannon mounted to the top of my stairs loaded with grape shot. Tally-ho, lads! The grape shot shreds 2 men in the blast. The sound and extra shrapnel sets off car alarms. Fix bayonet and charge the last terrified rapscallion. He bleeds out, waiting on police to arrive, since triangular bayonet wounds are impossible to stitch up. Just as the founding fathers intended. Can you imagine that chaos with that? Oh, that killed me. I have to resort to the cannon mounted at the top of the stairs, loaded with grape shot. Tally-ho, lads. Oh, can you imagine if someone nowadays, instead of just this laying there getting stabbed with triangular bayonet wounds, I wish you would have just shot me with an AR-15. Oh, man. So, you can keep your house safe as long as you keep a cannon loaded with grape shot. You do that, you keep grape shot at the top of your stairs. You're never out of the fight.